Hey everybody, it's Treachboo from Drop Dead Inc. And today I'm just going to go over a little thing about, there's a lot of talk about the hit on rotary tattoo machines. If you have a rotary tattoo machine, you can actually adjust the hit on. Basically, what they're calling the hit is basically adjusting the stroke length. And if you watched any of my other videos, you know I have this little beater tube and needle. It's a little tube stem. I always set my liners and shaders, whatever. I use like anything you can get with like a larger needle grouping. Like this is a 14 round shader. So obviously the more needles soldered on that bar, the heavier it is. So if I'm setting a liner with a 14 round shader, it's definitely going to push pretty much anything that I would do any line work with. Anyway, we're not really talking about that so much, but basically as far as adjusting the hit. So I have this little 2018, it's a Hummingbird Gen 2. And most of these tattoo machines that you can actually have hit adjusters. So basically the hit adjuster is this little thing on the front of the machine, because this is the artist's front. So everything on this end is the front of the machine to the artist. So by turning this little screw here, either clockwise or counterclockwise, it says how to adjust the hit. Basically by going clockwise, it claims that it's a harder hit, but that's basically setting it more as like a liner setting. And basically what that does is when you turn this counterclockwise, when you're running it, this little armature bar thing here, this travels at a smaller distance back and forth. So when it's running, like there'll be a little less of a gap in it than what I have it on now. Like this is I have it kind of set as a shader. And basically hummingbirds are from like a 0.32 to a 0.39 millimeters. So the most I'm going to get out of this is like 3.9 millimeter stroke length, which I'm pretty sure I have it on right about now. Bear with me, and again, you know, I should have gloves on, but I'm not working on anybody. So, and by turning that counterclockwise, it says that the hit is softer, but technically it's backwards, because that means that armature bar is pulling back further and then going forward further. There's a bigger distance in between, so technically it's almost hitting the skin a little harder, thus being like more for shading, you know, color packing. Personally, with these hummingbirds, like anything that's less than a 4 millimeter, I use pretty much for like gray wash. Like myself, I use mostly my coil machines for, you know, any serious color packing, except for a couple rotaries that I have that I can get more than 4 millimeters out of. But like this particular one, you know, it's really, hummingbirds are awesome gray wash machines. So basically, you know, I have that all the way back. It's going to be pretty hard to see, but if you can watch that little, where that needle loops on that little armature bar, like the distance that that's traveling, and that's about, you know, 3.9 millimeters. At least that's what they're saying it is. That's about the most I can get out of it. So don't be confused with all these different terminologies like the hit, the throw, this and that. Basically what that is you're adjusting the stroke length, and that's how far that needle travels back and forth between, you know, hitting your skin. If you watched any of my other videos, like my little dragonfly knockoff video, I was talking about putting a little oil on all these like bearings and stuff, anything that moves, you know, even this little wheel on this needle tensioner, you know, on the part that actually tightened down on these little bearings, everything that actually moves. And right now, I never ran this over 5 volts. So with 5 volts, and that's pushing a 14 round shader, and that's definitely, you know, flying. That's easily get the ink in there. That's only at 5 volts, and these actually have Swiss motors in them. So if I can keep that running on 5 volts for like ever, and with just a little maintenance in between, you know, this will last me literally years and years. So a little, you know, a little preventive maintenance definitely goes a long way, especially with rotary machines. You can see that needle travel right there. So yeah, that's definitely a pretty good shader. If I were to do any coloring with this, I would definitely do smaller pieces that you could use something like a 14 round shader, you know, up to like a 5 mag or a 7 mag, but you would want a smaller needle grouping to actually get the coloring good if it's anything of a stroke length less than 4 millimeters. Most rotary machines that aren't adjustable, which pretty much 90% of them have pre-installed non-adjustable, like your rotary pens, or pretty much all 3.5 millimeter stroke length. I personally don't really use them for anything more than line work or gray wash. But you know, whatever. I mean, if you have luck coloring with them, then you know, rock and roll, I guess. But anyway, so the hit basically is, you hear so much talk about, and there's all this confusion with it. Basically, when you're adjusting the hit, all you're doing is adjusting the stroke length, or the throw, as some people call it. You know, and after I get done doing a tattoo with this, you know, I'll take my little Allen key set or whatever, and you know, just kind of snug up that bearing a little bit, you know, snug up that little wheel on the um, needle bar tensioner and all that, you know, just a little preventive maintenance in between definitely goes a long way, everybody. So, you know, take care of your stuff and it'll last you, you know, a long, long time, and you'll definitely get the most performance. You know, I just use a little 3-in-1 oil, and you know, again, I'll put a little drop on top here, that little bearing that you can't really see, but there's another part in there, you know, just a couple little drops. It's important not to get any oil right down in the motor, so be careful and use like a minimal amount. Um, but yeah, you know, I've had this actually for, well, I got it at the beginning of 2018, and it's got a lot of hours on it, so, and it's still running smooth. Again, that's barely over 5 volts, and that thing's flying. You know, I don't even, if I were to put like a 5 mag or something on this, I could get it actually under 5 volts. I'll have to go over the voltage and stuff with you guys at some other time, but yeah. So anyway, again, when you have an adjustable, when you twist it to hit, it's basically you're just adjusting the stroke length. And technically the harder hit, as most are called, is a shorter distance of a stroke length. So like the harder hit, it would be more of a liner setting, and like a softer hit would be more of a shader setting, even though it's technically should be the other way around. I've been tattooing since 1994. I mean, it was just adjusting the stroke length back then. We didn't really have rotary machines, you know, so all these different terminologies, but that's basically, you know, all it is you're just adjusting the stroke length. So, anyway, hopefully that helps you guys out a little bit. You can also check me out on Facebook at Drop Dead Ink, or on Instagram at Drop Dead Ink Custom Tattoo. Hopefully I'll be putting out some more videos, you know, machine stuff, and some videos doing some work at some point in time. But alright, you guys, as always, think ink. See ya.